This is Jennifer Crumbley, Ethan Crumbley's mother. And that is James Crumbley, Ethan's father. The pair were called by police hours after they left school to say that their son had violated the rules and committed 4 murders via mass shooting. The only things sketched on their face were denial, regret, and disappointment. All Ethan's mother could say was, "I wish we would have taken him home."
They're taken to see their son, and there he was, handcuffed to the wall.
They wished, but when the school's guidance counselor called them that day, they didn't care much about his concerns.
Both parents had that morning, hours before the shooting, with guidance counselor Sean Hopkins.
According to the sources, his teacher had caught him watching videos of a person shooting people on his phone, and he was utterly engrossed in them as if they fascinated him. Mr. Hopkins later testified, a little bit distant, kind of like it was a bit inconvenient to be there.
Reliving the nightmare moments around the 2021 massacre. Caught on camera in a police interview room as Jennifer Crumbley confronted her then 15-year-old son Ethan, who appears to say, "I did it."
Despite the growing concerns about the child's mental stability and health, the parents did not take him home because they had to go to work. Plus, they did not feel the need to because they felt their son was entirely normal until later when the police again called them because of their son's behavior. They said that their son had never done anything wrong or violent before. Their worry and concern were justifiable. But when they met their son after his action for the first time, all they could see on his face was emotionless coldness and unconcern. He was sitting on a chair with one of his hands handcuffed to the wall.
It's the shocking moment the parents of school shooter Ethan Crumbley confront him for the first time after he murdered 4 students.
After a few uneasy seconds, the father got up with the mother, saying they did not need to ask him any questions just then. Both the parents seemed sick and worried, but the 15-year-old child sat calmly without showing emotion. The environment was thick with anticipation and concern, but the only thing Ethan Crumbley had to say to his parents, just as they were about to leave the room, was to take care of his pet cat, Dexter, probably the thing he loved most in this world. And the only thing his mother could ask him after this for his false actions was, why? And his reply was just, because I did it. His mother confronting him showed how much his actions had upset her, while the father remained quiet and calm throughout the events.
Why? I love you.
And when the parents were taken to an interrogation room, his mother just seemed taken aback at the nonchalant behavior of her son. She cried to her husband. He didn't even seem to care. What the blank? Later, the parents were questioned about their son's behavior and past. They didn't think that anything bad had been related to him over time. On the other hand, they thought he was a perfect kid. He's a perfect kid, like he doesn't do anything wrong, he doesn't get into trouble at school, his mother said. It didn't seem they ever thought their perfect kid could come in and ruin their lives. All of them. The parents and friends of the victims starkly remember the day, date, and timing and the emotions of the event. They could hardly forget or get over it. The interviews said everything. The following events on November 30th, 2021 were unforgettable for Oxford High School in the Detroit exurb of Oxford Township, Michigan, United States. 4 students were killed while 7 others were injured in the attempt of a 15-year-old who allegedly opened fire on a school day. The injured also involving a teacher. During the attempt on Tuesday, more than 100 calls to 911 were reported, CNN states. The 4 who were killed in the firing were Madison Baldwin, Tate Meyer, Hannah St. Juliana, and Justin Schilling. Justin and Madison were 17, Meyer was 16, and Hannah was just 14. Madison Baldwin's parents were particularly shocked and distressed. Her mother was in trauma, seeing her beautiful daughter's lifeless body smeared with blood. Her grandmother made a fundraising page named after Madison on behalf of her parents. Grave Mosqueda wrote on Facebook, "This horrific day could never have been imagined or planned for." Tate Meyer was also a beloved of the school and the football team. His friends couldn't get over his death and said that he was the best person they had ever met. One of them was crying uncontrollably, and nothing could erase their pain.
Probably the best person I'll probably meet, besides my dad and besides God. Tate was always, he was smart in class. Me and him used to joke around, me and him used to play. I knew Justin.
That was this boy.
Tate's elder brother, Ty Meyer, was also in shock. He stated his life was in ruins after his beloved brother's death. On Instagram, he made a heart-rendering post. "My life has been broken just like that," he wrote. "Never in my life will I feel this pain again. This still isn't right. It can't be. I miss you with everything in my heart, Tate. What I would do to see you one more time. Listen to your voice, block for you, wrestle you one more time. I had such high hopes for your future, and I couldn't wait to see you make your dream come true and for me to be right by your side along that road." This shows how much impact a single death can have on a family. The other victim, Hannah, was a part of Oxford's basketball team. The team posted on Twitter that they would never forget her and play for her that season, only for her. The last victim had a contagious smile, but a terrible fate awaited that beauty. Justin Schilling was a scholar who everyone loved. His family was left in shambles, stating, "The loss of Justin leaves such a gaping hole in our family that we cannot conceive of life without him." His uncle created a donation page in his name where he collects donations and uses them for charitable purposes. On the page, the loss is described as a senseless and unimaginable tragedy. In that tragedy, 6 students and a teacher were shot, among which a 14-year-old girl was on a ventilator later on, and a 14-year-old boy took a wound to the jaw and head. The mayhem, while the authorities described the shooting as a sophomore's absolutely cold-hearted, murderous rampage. Senior Aiden Page was there on Tuesday afternoon when the firing started. He told the authorities that just like in their active shooting drills, the teacher ran and locked the door, and students shoved desks against it. He said, "We grabbed calculators, we grabbed scissors just in case the shooter got in, and we had to attack them." The parents of the victims filed cases against the murderer, and the family was called to hearings and trials. Not only was Ethan called to court, but his parents were also called on charges against them. They included not looking after their son, not keeping a check on his weird behavior, and handing him a gun. Ethan pleaded guilty to the charges and confessed, but the thing that set anger higher was when the parents were charged with involuntary manslaughter and they were nowhere to be found or traced. Their lawyer said that they had taken measures for their safety and were out of the city. But who can run from the law? Sooner or later, they were bound to come and face their final verdict. They would be the first parents charged with their child's actions. They were caught in a warehouse in Detroit, where they were hiding a few weeks after the incident. David Metzke, an officer from the Detroit Police Department Special Response Team, testified that he found the couple lying on a mattress inside an art studio, and an 8-minute video was shown as proof in court. Near them lay more than $6,000 cash, 4 cell phones turned off, clothing bank envelopes, an empty bottle of whiskey, and more. Their dramatic arrest and bringing it to the court was one thing, but then they started making romantic gestures. It was enough for the prosecutors. It started with James Crumbley telling his wife that he loved her. He looked on the verge of tears. Jennifer kept stealing glances in his direction. Then, in another hearing, Jennifer gestured with her hands and told James that she loved him. The prosecutors said the romantic moments must end immediately. They warned that the courtroom is not a place for blowing kisses and sending secret signals. This is a time for families to pursue justice. If they continued to do this, they would be held in contempt of court.
Jennifer and James Crumbley continue to do this, mouthing "I love you" to each other in the courtroom, things like that. Then they eventually could be held in contempt of court, and eventually they could face even more time tacked on to a jail or prison sentence should they be found guilty.
Their son pleaded guilty to 4 attempted murders, and in court, he claimed that he had taken the gun to school in his backpack. Ethan had taken it out in the boys' bathroom, and he had randomly fired it at students and staff members around 12:51 p.m. that day. The terror that spread all around was unimaginable, and all Ethan's mother cared about was that her son did not point the gun at himself. The gun itself was a 9mm semi-automatic pistol. The pistol was shown in the court, and so were his disturbing journals. They were read out loud, and they said, "I just saw a group of girls sitting down in the hallway. If I had my pistol with me, I would not have hesitated to blow both their brains out. I would just hope that their parents will fill up with sadness and distraught. When I shoot up the school, I hope that every parent of the kids I gratefully murdered will be so sad that they too take their lives." This writing shows how much of a psychopath he was. He had villainy in himself, and watching shooting videos spiked it up. In his journal, he also wrote that he was looking for the gun that his father had hidden in a closet. Moreover, these disturbing notes showed how dangerous he was for the world, and his parents too were accused of 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. And the answer to why they were charged was explained in his next entry. "The shooting is tomorrow. I have access to the gun and the ammo. I am fully committed to this now," Ethan wrote. "I have 0 help from my mental problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the effing school," he wrote in another entry. "I want help, but my parents don't listen to me, so I can't get any help." Oakland County Sheriff Timothy Willis read these writings on the trial of James Crumbley on Tuesday, March 12th. James Crumbley was accused of gross negligence surrounding the matter. He did not properly hide the gun and constantly ignored warning signs of his son's disturbed mental health. He hid the gun in an armoire in the case, and the bullets were hidden in a completely different spot.
Was hidden in our armoire, in the case, and the bullets were hidden in a completely different spot.
Jennifer Crumbley was charged on the same count. Jennifer Crumbley was accused that during her extramarital relationship with Brian, a firefighter, she had neglected her son and didn't look after him. She was so busy with her life and career that she overlooked the looming dangers. It was also testified at the same hearing by the firefighter himself that they met. Still, according to Ethan's mother, they only met during working hours at work and on the weekends, so Ethan couldn't possibly get ignored. But the situation of his untidy room said otherwise. Also, he had 13 cavities in his teeth because of not brushing, and his braces had to be removed. These signs indicate that his mother never really cared about him. After the massacre, she texted her lover and said that she would never be okay. She lost her son and that he was a murderer. She failed as a parent. She failed miserably. When asked if she could change the situation, she said, "Yes, I wish he could have killed us instead."
If you could change what happened, would you?
Oh, absolutely. I wish he would have killed us instead.
Ethan Crumbley pleaded guilty and was charged with 24 counts. 4 counts of first-degree murder, 7 counts of assault with intent to murder, 1 count of terrorism causing death, and 12 counts of possession of a firearm in the commission of a felony. The charges were upheld against him in the court. He faced the parents of the victims and their friends. There was no way he was going to run from the harsh verdict that awaited him, and that would fully bring justice to the families of the victims. The teenager Ethan Crumbley was sentenced to life in prison and without parole, which was the perfect punishment given to the killer of 4 innocent teenagers. Not only the killings, but also the manner of the killings was insane. Ethan had asked Justin to bow before him before shooting him point blank. He shot at Hannah twice to confirm she was dead. Now, the families of the victims confirmed that he would rot in his cell for all of his life, while his parents were sentenced to at least 10 years in jail. Before sentencing, Crumbley told the judge, "I am a really bad person. I have done terrible things that no one should ever do. Whatever the sentence handed down," he added, "I do plan to do better."
I am a really bad person. I have done terrible things that no one should ever do. I have lied, been not trustworthy. I've hurt many people.
But that was no longer of use to the families and friends of the victims. Ethan had not only killed people, but dimmed the lives of their families as well. And now he was going to pay for it. Ethan became the first minor to get sentenced to life in jail without the possibility of parole. He was 15 when he committed the gruesome act and would remain in prison for the rest of his life.